In Deuteronomy 10, verse 12, it says, you must circumcise your hearts. This is the first time that expression, right? Yeah, it's good that you're circumcised. That's part of the covenant. Abraham, obedience, amen. But it's much more than that. There's something called the circumcision of the heart. Deuteronomy 30, verse 6, God promises, I will circumcise your hearts. It's interesting, in Deuteronomy 30, the context is when the Jewish people have been scattered and then brought back to the land of Israel. He says, I will circumcise your hearts. Just as in Ezekiel, chapters 11 and 36, he says, especially chapter 36, it's in the context of a return, a major return of the Jewish exiles to the land of Israel. And Ezekiel, through Ezekiel, God promises to remove the heart of stone. It's similar, and to give a heart of flesh, right? God didn't just bring the Jewish people back here for war and to wait for the Messiah. And then we come to the New Testament, and it's fulfilled. In Luke 2:21, it's just one verse. It just says, and according to the custom and according to the commandment, Joseph and Mary brought Jesus up to Jerusalem. They were here, and he was circumcised. Okay, and that's when they announced his name. So then we give this circumcision is his circumcision. Yeshua had to be in this line. He was the one we saw in chapter 7 who's speaking, who's appearing. Chapter 18, who's eating with Abraham. And he's beginning this plan that it's not just I am God making a covenant with man like this. It's between us. We're going to cooperate to the degree that the Son of Man is going to become a Jewish baby that has to be circumcised on the 8th day. Okay? And all of that is to fulfill and to provide this anchor for our faith so that we know who the Messiah is and that we know the truth and the gospel that went out from here to every tribe, tongue, and nation. And many people are here from those tribes, tongue, and nations to make Abraham your father as well. Romans 6, verses 6 through 7. Knowing this, that our old self was crucified with him, in order that our body of sin might be done away with, so that we would no longer be slaves to sin, for he who has died is freed from sin. This picture of the circumcision of the heart is a removal of this fleshly old man, right, to expose our heart to God and allow us and empower us to walk in the light as children of God and not submit to sin anymore. Amen? Romans 2:29. But he is a Jew who is one inwardly, and circumcision is that which is of the heart, by the Spirit, not by the letter, and his praise is not from men, but from God. Now in the next verse, Paul says, so am I saying that physical circumcision is now useless? He says, no, that's not what I mean. He said, it's a good thing. It's the covenant with Abraham. It's good to be a Jew. Primarily, he says, because to them were committed the oracles of God. The Apostle Paul took this stand that the Gentiles not just don't need to be circumcised, they must not be circumcised. And it's easy for us today, because we have those writings, but back then it was the most natural thing and logical thing was that all of these new believers, Gentiles, in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for them to join the covenant just like Abraham did. You know, we say, but like Paul says in Galatians, but first was Genesis 15:6, that first was faith. Amen. Okay, right? And he believed in Jehovah and it was credited to him as righteousness. So it's by faith. Okay, but 2 chapters later, God says, that's right. Faith we're starting. Now we're going to make a covenant together and your response is circumcision. So when teachers came to the Galatian church, let's say after Paul had left, it made perfect sense that the Gentiles should be not just circumcised, that they should keep the Sabbath, they should eat kosher food, and basically convert to Judaism and be Jews. But the revelation that Paul had was, no. God has a plan for every tribe, tongue, and nation. What matters is a pure heart faith and walking in the true holy commandments of God. A lot of confusion today. It's not just that you shouldn't or you don't have to be. It's no, you shouldn't be, because God doesn't want. God made this people Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Jewish people, and he's got a plan, and he brought, Yeshua came into our DNA to could come and be the blessing to the whole world that he promised to Abraham. He doesn't want that for other people. He has a plan to bring us all together. Every tribe, tongue, and nation, the Chinese as the Chinese, the Koreans as the Koreans. I look at the Korean, I was with a Korean group yesterday talking, the Korean revival in 1907, which really began the big outpouring in what we see today, and you have millions of Korean Christians and missionaries. Imagine if that wrong gospel, the circumcision gospel, had carried the day, okay, that you'd have tens of millions of Koreans who basically could become Jews. What would that look like? Would they want to all live here? There's 100 million Chinese Christians. And no, God says, no, we didn't want that. Abraham is the father of the circumcised and the uncircumcised.